Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to GameDev Meetup 66. Woo. So we will have 4 speakers today, like quite a lot. And first will be Ricardas Jascemskas. I was right, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. And he will share the GameDev story from Lithuania. Applause, please.
Hi everyone. Thanks very much for invite. Really love your idea of doing the meetups in the bars. We kind of doing it still officially more in the in the audiences in the universities on like a startup center, and then we're trying to figure out where to go for the after party. So that's a very good idea to do everything in one place, because then people spread out and run away. Okay, not to some spoilers, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm Richard, Ricardas in Lithuanian. I'm working currently at the studio North Current. I'll talk a bit about it. It's the biggest studio in Lithuania. I'm also part of Lithuanian Game Developers Association, LGK. I'll also be mentioning them a bit. So yeah, just starting a little bit about me more. I'm like, as I'm saying, 18 years already working with games. I started as a journalist. We created several magazines about games and licensed several magazines about games. So I was like very kind of deeply involved in the gaming area, but not necessarily like in Lithuanian game scene, because it was at the early days it was very hard to find something happening. But more or less everything started around the same years, around 2000-ish. Then after some time, like for the last 5, let's say, years, I joined our current, working with PR, social media, events. This is our cat. It's a very cool idea to have a cat in the office. Well, if people don't have allergies, as we're joking, she's our boss. So yeah, nice kind of relax a bit and break your routine when she comes and lies on your PC. And yeah, I joined like 2 or 3 years ago with Game Developers Association, and kind of now doing both things, trying to kind of think and help to improve, to develop all the industry in Lithuania, and kind of see what we can do as all the association. I guess the same in other countries. Now starting from the early days, it's kind of murky waters how everything started, how the industry started in Lithuania. As I said, about 2000s. One group of people was in Kaunas, the second largest city of Lithuania. They called themselves Nesnausk, which is, don't sleep, more or less. And what happened at the time, they got involved in the demo scene. I don't know if you're familiar about the demo scene. Like short interactive CG created scenes, and the guys were quite good, won many prizes, and out of these guys some very prominent people were born. Unity guys, the kind of, as we're joking, the number 4 in Unity. Like the first hired guy by the Unity was Lithuanian guy Aras Pranskevičius. He's quite famous in Lithuania and abroad as a kind of top programmer. Then there is, if you've been in Game On last weekend, another guy, Ray Renaldas, he won like the Lifetime Achievement Award for kind of helping the Lithuanian game dev scene with a lot of projects, and again Unity, and in general all the development basically. Then shortly there were the guys, I don't know, maybe you'll recognize, he's very young now here, Midas Baltics. I mean, they were officially kind of the first official company which worked with games, although there were old mobile games for the feature phones. And then Ilya Lars out of it created GetJar, which like became very big thing globally before the app stores started. So that's the big story. I mean, he's not involved now in the games, but he is like one of the main investors in Lithuania and advisors for startups, for everything. So the hope is that one day maybe he'll invest in games also. And then there is our company, which back then was called Volgamus, and they were established in 2002 and released the first game for Game Boy Advance and first PlayStation, which was kind of a budget game, considering that time and the opportunities, but it got still some recognition, and now it's featured. You can find it in the kind of YouTube PlayStation Museum YouTube channel and some other early lists of PlayStation and Game Boy Advance. So that's like how everything started, with like very small steps, very kind of unofficial and a bit chaotic, out of pure enthusiasm, as I guess everywhere else is also similar. Then the second part is like several years later. We got still the biggest PC game from Lithuania. 10 years ago exactly, we are celebrating the anniversary. It was featured in the like a modern technology exhibition, modern design exhibition. So the guy I mentioned, Ray, was kind of the main person behind it. So it's like a strategy game with like not AAA, but we can say AA at least. It was published by Akel, I think, Russian publishers, and kind of got quite enough recognition around. But didn't become like a global hit, but it's kind of like the most ambitious like serious strategy PC game, and just recently the guys got back the rights for the game because they had like 10-year IP ownership, and they are planning to release it for free, but they just need to adapt it for the modern PCs. So yeah, follow the news somewhere on Lithuanian Game Developers board. Should be interesting to try to see how it looks 10 years after. Then our company is like next quite a big step for the company for the time in Lithuania. Around 2007 2008 was the deal with Activision. They kind of through the events, through the pitches they found us. They ordered, asked to do first the Barbie game for consoles, and then Shrek game. So that was quite serious jump from the simple budget games. It was a lot of work and a lot of requirements from the guys. People from DreamWorks actually came to Lithuania, which was quite a big deal back then. And it helped kind of grow the company again, and afterwards gave the strength and kind of courage for the company to become like fully independent. I mean, like fully own publishing, kind of own publishing house, and don't work for hire anymore. How to say? And yeah, so then after like a couple years of these Activision games. Norcurrent, already under Norcurrent name, jumped to early smartphones for quite at the beginning of the smartphone era, like in 2011, I would say. They released like this game series with like many small games in one place, which worked very well on the iPhone at first, and then it got quite good traction, a lot of users early, because back then the competition wasn't so huge in the stores. So that's like a second part. like the kind of final part of the history, it's like coming to the current days, which is like getting bigger and getting internationally well-known titles. So, I mean, well, I'll start from ours. It's like 2014. We released like a first like big free-to-play game with all the free-to-play mechanics and everything, and started getting up the charts like quite big numbers in largest markets. So in these several years, we crossed 200 million downloads, and the activity is very high. We still keep like 15 million people every month, and growing the game every month, adding new features, adding new levels. So it's really kind of a very big project with a lot of stuff going on. Like we needed to learn all the background of serving the big mobile game with free-to-play users. So all the marketing stuff needed to change, and then the approach needed to change. So yeah, that's quite a big thing. Well, if anybody will be interested, I can tell much more about it. Another thing which happened around the same time is the Game Developers Association was created, and now it unites more than 20 studios and around 100 members, which is like, well, I guess good timing, good size for Lithuania right now. We are of course trying to add more people, well, each year with each event and each meetup. And another very big hit. Somebody knows it? Yes. Great. So that's that's what happens. I mean, in the industry events, usually people know this game. So that's really great. I mean, the story is incredible. The guy did it alone with his son. But on the other side, he was very experienced programmer. He had previously several kind of IT programming companies which he like sold, closed down, then did some other games which were unsuccessful, and then like with the last money, like personal money he just took time to develop the game, didn't do anything else for like I don't know how long, a year I guess. And yeah, with the final, like as he said, with the final 1,000 euros in his account, he published it first on the itch.io, and then waited. And after like the first download started, he said, okay, so I don't need to kind of go to work to IT company. So the game got viral very early. Big YouTubers picked it up because it's like well, if you know the game, I will not tell a lot of details, but basically it's like very fun to watch with all these like clumsy mechanics, clumsy physics. And yeah, so big YouTubers started to showing it, playing it, generated lots of views, and then it translated to sales eventually. So yeah, recently it crossed 4 million sales on all the platforms. Yeah, the game is now I think available on all the platforms. Recent release was on Switch. So that's our big indie darling. And but well, the guy is. We keep asking him about what's next, but he's not telling us. I mean, all the games publishing work is done by UK, by I forgot the name. By UK publishing company, one of the, and then their game is like the leading game of all the publishing companies. So that's a big success, not only for us locally, but even for the like UK publisher. So yeah, that's very nice. Hope he will do something new. And then yeah, now just talking about industry, what's happening, well, also in recent history, and now we have like I put several like main trends. So one trend which really works in Lithuania, I don't know why, but we do quite good kids games. One of the guys, Pepe Play, they are like. The studio was created by the illustrators, like book illustrators, children's book illustrators, and they did like very, well, child-friendly. They did a lot of research, how the game should work for the kids, what should be, the good practices. And so they released in several 5-6 years. They released more than 10 games, have quite a lot of downloads, sell some games premium, some games for free. So yeah, I mean, and most of the games are around taking care of the characters, which helps children to learn stuff. A short story with this, why I put this, is that they had an issue with putting the toilet paper in the trash can, because like the users started to saying, wait, you don't put the toilet paper in the trash can. But then they said, how can we animate putting it back? So the guys had quite a difficult task to kind of change this setting. Then there is another studio, Tiny Lab, which got very successful with racing games for kids on Android. Recently they ran in the issue, I don't know if you read about the kind of tracking problems with the advertisers, but I hope they will kind of get back from it, because the model really worked for them. They were releasing lots of kind of similar games, but lots of downloads, lots of kind of push, in especially in Android market. And one more kids company is Tutotunes, which is a very interesting case, as they do not create the game themselves, but they created like a game builder for simple users to create their own games, like drag and drop, very easy. So like there are hundreds of games which are very similar to each other, also around taking care of tigers and other pets and hospitals and beauty and whatever. So whoever wants creates the games. So in total they get lots of downloads, lots of games, and they are one of the also success stories about investment that they got. They were pitching like traditionally as other startups do, which is very unusual for Lithuania, and they got financed by just winning the startup pitch. So that's very interesting story about them also. Okay, next kind of trend is opening foreign studios opening in Lithuania, which started also around the same time a few years ago. Of course, everybody knows, I guess, Game Insight, and they opened like the main headquarters in Lithuania. As far as I know, they don't do like development there, but they kind of run all the operations. So the revenue goes to kind of Lithuania, gets added to Lithuania. That's why we have like, as a country, we have 100 million plus revenue from games, which now helps us to kind of knock the doors on the like all these official institutions, ministries, and etc. Because now we realize that it's a very big industry, and many people are working there, and it's possible to generate quite serious income. So that's very good part of the community. Jetcat Games is the guys from Belarus, small team which came to Lithuania, and also very unusually they got investment from Lithuanian venture fund, and they released this helicopter battle game, which also won quite many awards locally, and as far as I know, like in Belarus, and then maybe in more countries. And another successful company is Charlie Oscar Lima Tango. I think the full name is this. They released a couple of years ago. They released like interesting PC kind of management, kind of card game, kind of board game imitation on PC about Gremlins. It worked very well. They got like Game of the Year in Lithuania. Got as far as I know, got quite many sales, and now working on some new games, so which also helps to the industry a lot. Another topic is VR for us. I guess everywhere in all the countries, especially smaller, people try to experiment with VR games. There is one very cool studio in Klaipėda. The guys they did a Shopkeep series, like kind of this fantasy craft management game, and they did the VR VR kind of games separately, where you do everything from the first-person perspective and create like fantasy-themed stuff for people to buy. Also, the interesting project currently is about well, how to tell shortly, our like independence fight. We had this accident in January 14 when Russians tried to take over the government and the tower, and so in this is not like a full game, but more like interactive story with several choices. So the story is about that night when you as a character you are going to the tower, and then you get into several situations where you need to decide what to do, to help people or to film and get evidence. So it's still under development, but it got a lot of attention as it's kind of the national topics and got government grants. So it's also interesting kind of trend and interesting way to approach games. Another kind of similar idea, but from different topic, is by the 3D studio Okta. They are doing also like a VR experience based on our most famous painter Čiurlionis paintings, which are like surrealistic kind of blurred out experiences, and it works really well in VR. I tried this. Like still in development, and it's really impressive. Even like the current VR technology is not enough for me to show the full potential of this. So I hope it will get better, and it already was recently selected for Venice Film Festival. They did some kind of special VR program for that. Also, yeah, another topic for our big topic for our industry is events. So yeah, I guess some of you were in Game On last 2 weeks ago. So that's well, very big success for us. I mean, as far as I remember, working with game magazines, we always wanted to have some kind of event, but well, nobody was brave enough to do it. And well, one company a couple of years ago decided that's okay, we have to try, and it worked very well. I mean, the attendance numbers is quite high and like all the time growing and all the time expanding. So yeah, really invite you to come next year if you still haven't a chance to join. They should confirm the dates like quite soon. Another thing is in Klaipėda. It's a small event, but it's very cozy. It's mainly for animation, but also with each year more and more games are involved there, and but usually with the kind of art topics a bit. So it's very interesting to kind of see where the mix of animation and games comes into one place. And in general, it's a very relaxed event at the seaside. So also want to invite you to follow this event, and it will be sometime in March, I guess, or April. Also in Lithuania is especially popular game jams. We were one of the first countries to do game jams back in like 2004, I guess, by this students team Nesnaust. They arranged it like, well, with 10 people, but it was official, and then it was a long gap when we didn't do anything, and then after the association was established, like we started to do it officially, and we managed to gather a lot of people, and the guys are very productive actually. There was some statistics that if you count like the country size and then the number of games created, we are like at the very top of all the game jam lists. So yeah, it's a good, I mean, very good kind of platform basically to promote game development. So we hope to increase it more. I mean, it goes in the 5 cities, I guess, 5 main cities. So we for next year, for the January, we'll try to kind of increase it even more. Some current games in early access, interesting to follow, and kind of showing the a bit changing, I guess, trends back home. So one is Blazing Bigs. The guys also won the best PC game award in last Game On, although it's only in early access. But it's very well developed in the sense of the style and action and all the, how to say, the multiplayer part is very intense, and seems that people love it. Also, just yesterday, the guys, like a small team from Unity developers, they released their own game, which they developed for a couple of years since Game Jam. I think 2 years ago they started to create it on the Game Jam, and now finally released it as an early access. It's the idea is inspired by the early stages of Spore, where you have like a cell organism, growing it and fighting with others and using resources and trying to kind of dominate the land. So we'll see how it will work for the guys. They said they already got some attention from YouTubers, and they're hoping for some traction. Another game by another company which was relocated from Russia is Train Simulator, the Train Valley 2. I haven't played this game, but well, it's more or less obvious. Kind of a more cartoonish style, and I guess a bit easier gameplay than these hardcore train simulators. Another kind of part of games which are earlier or later in development, but still not released, and looking for publishers or for distribution or for any other kind of business development. One of the kind of my favorites and my big hopes is by the Tug of Joy studio, the guys who created Monster Buster, the mobile AR and kind of GPS tracked game, which they got some attention after Pokemon got popular, because they kind of created all the same idea 2 years ago, before Pokemon, but it was on Windows Phone, so didn't kind of reach the critical mass. But the guys, well, they got very good background and very lots of experience in the art style and everything, so they're creating the kind of Lithuanian mythology-inspired modern point-and-click adventure. Got some funding from the state also, which is very nice to see. So hopefully they get some nice results. Another very interesting game is a collectible card game with cyberpunk theme, which also I'm very interested in that, and the game already changed like several themes and kind of rebranded itself, reformed itself. So I hope it's still, they will find some good way to publish, because like I saw the demo and it's like really interesting. The artwork is very interesting. The story is quite interesting. It's done by like some veterans of sci-fi publishing in Lithuania. Also, the guys with the cars, they're also trying to do some new idea. I just showed in Game On, if somebody of you tried, which is also like multiplayer kind of cartoonish fast shooter game. And what are they doing interesting is that they will offer the combined play between PC and Android. Because well, they are very experienced with Android, so hopefully that works out somehow for them. And love the title, Project Zero Deaths. And basically, when I play it, I just you die all the time. so that's irony in there. In general, about the industry, what are they talking about in the board? What what we're trying to figure out what could be next for us is, well, of course, the most important thing is funding. The good thing which happened in Lithuania is that finally games industry and game development is recognized in the state level as as an industry, as a creative industry, because earlier kind of nobody knew about it, and nobody in the government, in all these like official institutions, the games didn't figure out there. So the only funding which people could get were like from the cinema fund or some like other general programs, but already studios can get funding just for games. So that's a good way to move forward. This is one of the earlier funded games, like platformer about like different masks. Also, I guess it's a bit for children. Hopefully they will get some traction also. Of course, another big topic is publishing, because I guess more and more people realize that it's very difficult to go alone, to self-publish, even on PC or mobile, almost impossible. So yeah, I mean, I needed to put Unity somewhere in the presentation, because Unity is a very big part of Lithuanian GameDev community. They have like around 80 people in the office there. So many guys from Unity are helping in kind of in all the ways possible. Now the talk is to the talk is what form we should find to help the younger guys publish the games, because a lot of games are developed, but very few teams, very few people have experience in like business side of publishing games, of developing games, of releasing games. So we are trying to think of the ways how to help. So maybe the good project, the good way to do is to make an accelerator. And yeah, nice topics and news for me, and I guess for many in Lithuania. It's that our oldest and biggest website about games is rebranding, kind of renovating. So and already we agreed that there will be a lot of attention given to local game development. So I guess even from from Latvia, Estonia, or around, if you release a game and contact our board, we can publish. We can talk about the game. Talk about the game here in this website, or spread from there in the further media. So I really have big hopes for that, and personally will try to help them as much as possible. So yeah, that's more or less quick review of almost 20 years of the industry. If some topics in some topic is interesting, I can talk, of course, much more about it. So yeah, thanks very much.
So we have another mic. Anyone want to ask a question?
Hi. I wanted to ask a question about why do foreigners choose to establish companies in Lithuania rather than other Baltic countries? Do you know why foreigners choose to establish companies in Lithuania rather than other Baltic countries?
There was a big push a few years ago from like this Invest Lithuania body. They did a good job, but they made one mistake. In general, they pushed like IT industry, that we have a lot of good IT guys, so please come to Lithuania, open your offices. And it worked very well for some very big IT companies like banks and the Western Union and stuff like that. And they used the same approach to invite gaming companies with the same messages. Please come, we have a lot of IT guys. But for the gaming, the IT part is not the only one. So that worked for some companies, but it didn't work so expansive. So only few companies came to establish. And there was some other incentives. There was this startup visa program that it's quite easy to get and quite fast to get a visa for you and a living permit for you if you're opening the company there, and some other small things. So
Yeah, but for example, from Latvia and Russia and Poland, there are people who choose to establish company in Lithuania. Do you know why do they? Like?
well, I guess it's case by case is different. I mean, for each companies.
Unity maybe. All right.
Well, Unity, I think it's this Lithuanian story when they got this first guy, hiring him like back in 2005 or 6 or whatever. So that's like very personal. I guess that could be some personal connections which Unity helped as an early player, which some other guys helped. Oleg Priduk, one of the kind of our famous guys, famous foreigners, who is always kind of promoting Lithuania, and now is working for King. So, and earlier worked for Unity and then for Game Insight. So, some personal connections, I guess, helped, and some incentives from the state.
Okay, thank you.
More questions?
You said that the government has finally acknowledged the industry, its existence. What actions did the government take that make you say such a thing?
The games are part of like official funding. Like you can apply for various different programs for funding if you work just with games, and it's like specially written that if you develop a game, you can apply for this and this and this. And earlier, it didn't exist. Earlier, you had to kind of sneak under the cinema creative program or some other program, and now specifically with games, you can do that.
Thank you.
Let me carry on the question. So, congratulations, being recognized by the government. That's actually. Oh.
Hello. That's actually so hard to do, and it takes a lot of resources and a lot of time and so much patience. So congratulations. So now that you tick that box, are there going to be any grants that specifically the association is going to apply to? For?
Yeah, now we're really working on that, just to figure out where can we apply, for which programs, for what ideas. Like for example, Game On already got the funding for the meeting system through this program. There are some, it will be quite easy to get the funding for the trips, for other events. For like pure development, the question is still kind of open. We need still to figure out what programs would work for like pure development. But yeah, at least it's open. So now we just need to figure out, because there are a lot of institutions which have different programs and might help with funding or with some other ideas. So, but it's a lot of work, and we again the Unity guys, the Nesnaus guys, they funded like a paid position in the association for the lady to just work fully on this, trying to figure out what could we apply, where could we apply. So that's yeah, I guess that was also a good decision and good opportunity.
Yeah. And as far as I understand, it kind of works the same way as in Estonia. So basically, once you get formally recognized, you're recognized from the association level all the way to that one university student working in one-bedroom apartments. Like anyone can apply for grants after that.
Well, hopefully we need to figure out that also. If like some programs are only for companies, or some programs are for just personal development, or if it's only for companies, then maybe association can help in that, kind of to file the programs, and then yeah, that's why we're thinking about this acceleration or some other way to kind of help the individual developers to do that.
So the future is bright, right?
Hopefully we have elections soon, so nobody knows.
Okay, thank you. We quite this this presentation was quite long, and I need to take you off the stage.
Yeah, sorry.
Excuse it.
Okay, thanks.
So, without further ado, of course. So, the next speaker is Arno from Estonia, and she will talk about Estonian game developers and games.
And also drink wine.
Yeah, that's it. Applause, please.
No, wrong one.
Yes.
It should be on the computer somewhere. Okay, so how do I change it to the next slide?
This?
Alright, cool.
Hello. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Cool. Alright. First of all, I would like to thank you all so much for having me here tonight. This is not my first time in Riga, but this is my first time at the gathering, so I'm really excited. Alright. So, who am I? My name is Arno. I'm the project manager for IGDA Estonia. I am also organizing events for Estonian game industry. I'm also the ecosystem creator behind the Estonian games industry. I'm also the data person, and I'm also the industry strategist. So those 2 points combined is basically make me like a magic 8-ball. You can shake me, and answers come in. It's like, okay, in 5 years we're gonna be there. I'm also the community leader. So what that means is like I have 2,000 children now. All right, so that's enough about me. How I want to do this presentation, I want it to be a slightly different format. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me, just raise your hand or just go straight away. Hey. If you want me to elaborate on something, or if you want me to kind of just answer a question, yeah?
If we kidnap you, then Estonia will be in great trouble.
Why?
Because you're all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think your questions are going to be that tough. If I don't know the answer to a question, I'll just say, okay, I'll get back to you. Moving on. So the presentation today is going to consist of 3 parts. Part number 1, I'm going to do... Are you... No? Oh, no, there's a person behind me. So the presentation... presentation today is going to consist of 3 parts. Part number 1 is data. Part number 2 is future, and then we're going to look at the games. So IGDA Estonia, international chapter of... Estonian chapter of International Game Developers Association. What that means is just a fancy term for we run the Estonian games industry. There's actually 2 of us. There's me, I'm the project manager, and there's Mariana. She's responsible, so if I'm responsible for everything that happens inside of Estonia and people, Mariana is responsible for everything that happens outside of Estonia and the money. Combined, we kind of make the only game, the whole country game development association that's completely consists of women. That's a random fact right there. Feel free to clap, by the way. Or don't. Alright. Tough crowds. Alright. So this is what's kind of been happening in Estonian games industry for the last since 91. So we started with 20 companies. Then in 2012, we had 4 more companies. Pay attention to this. This is where the Game Founders Accelerator started. Since then, every single year we had between 10, apart from this one, yeah, the last one, we had between 10 and 14 new companies every single year. So 2014, 11, 15, 10, 16, 14, 17, 11, 18, 1, but I'll get to that in a little bit. IGDA Estonia, this is where it started. So what does that graph tells us? Number 1, it's really hard to make games without internet. Number 2, if there is some sort of a government program, and both of those games founders and IGDA Estonia, they are both European Union government backed. So if, shockingly, if somebody is actually growing the industry, it grows. Oh, now I get a giggle. Alright, so growth. And now this. So I did the data around a month ago, and we only have 2 new companies. So this means that all of this, even though I've done a bunch of work, was not my scariest time. From here, this is where things get complicated. It means that we are a country of very few people. And the next generation of game developers has not yet, been developed. Basically, they're still in the universities, they're still in schools. So starting from this point, we're gonna hit a plateau of very, very slow growth. So what that means, we kind of need to open up ourselves to the world even more and more and more. This is a topic though. Yeah, go on.
Are those only video game companies or also like board game companies, etc.?
Not only video game companies, but that's actually in the next slide. Yeah. Actually, one more information I'd like to put out here. We used to have 88 companies. Since 91 and 2018, we only lost 3 companies. Which, yeah, impressive. So what that means is that as long as you have government-backed initiatives and communities, the survival rate of studios actually goes up tremendously. Moving on. Okay, so companies that we have. Out of those 85, we have 42 game studios. We have 3 outsourced companies. We have 5 accelerators, and the rest are VR solutions, publishers, music, marketing, service providers, servers, and so on and so on. I'll kind of elaborate on this a little bit more in the next slide. But what you need to understand about Estonian games industry is that because it's been run by 2 women who spent like 10 years in business, both, anytime a new studio is being developed, me and Mariana magically appear and go, what's your business plan? And if the studios say, ooh, I'm gonna spend all my life savings on making a game, which is gonna take like 4 years, we go, no, please. Think about like becoming one of, all of the 42 studios are hybrids. That means that not only they develop games, but they also from time to time, they work on other people's games, or they kind of take on external contracts to pay for their own games being developed. And that's what we kind of recommend everyone to do. If you have a brand new studio, if you're new to the industry, if you don't know how to pitch, if you don't know how to interact with investors, please don't play with your own money. Find somebody else who is willing to pay for it. Okay? Earn some money, work on your game. Alright, company locations. This is pretty straightforward. The majority of the companies are based in Tallinn. There's more and more companies are starting to develop in the southern part of Estonia. Actually, so Tartu is our number 2 biggest community. You know what's underneath Tartu? Riga. So you guys are actually actively contributing to the growth of the communities in Tartu, which is pretty cool. Alright, so what this is actually, this is a rough picture of how the ecosystem of Estonian games industry works. And I remember I told you I'll get back to the ecosystems. So, this is my own personal creation. When I got the job for IGDA Estonia, one of the questions was, we need to establish an industry, and we need to establish an industry that is going to last for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the line. So what is the strongest model that we can take that will survive throughout that period of time? So we took a model that's actually very predominant in any ecosystem, like forests, oceans, lakes, blah, blah, blah. And also, this is kind of, if it looks familiar, this is basically how the neurons inside our brains work as well. So we took our inspiration from nature and also from Finland. They had 10 years to test it out, so if it works. So from the last slide, we have IGDA, we have APT that's connected to Riga, we have a few other accelerators, educational programs, then we have studios, then we have outsourced companies, and so on and so on. The way we did it is that everything is interconnected. IGDA is like an umbrella organization. We're like the crossroads of all the information flow inside of Estonia. But we're all connected to every single company, every single service provider within the ecosystem. Here is the reason, here are the reasons why we did it that way. One, if there's a piece of information that needs to be distributed, let's say there's a hot new investor with a lot of money who just came from Finland, by the way, this is Finland's over here, came from Finland, and he's looking for a studio, the information gets passed through the chain instantly. Two, let's say there's a really, really small studio that's struggling. Let's say they don't know how to fix their code, or they don't have enough employees, or they're just struggling on some sort of a problem. Everyone in their immediate surrounding pitches in and helps to overcome the problem. And this system is actually very, very resistant to any sort of crises and any sort of we all know that eventually there's going to be new technology that's going to rock the market. Like if we do it like this, the system will survive. And obviously we go, IGDA Finland operates by the same system, and as far as I understand, Latvia and Lithuania kind of operate on similar systems. So we have really good chances of survival. That's the boring part. All right. So what else do we do? We have events. We have monthly seminars. We also organize game jams. We also organize GameDev Days conference. Who hasn't heard about it? Wow, that's good. Yeah, that's like literally 2 people. Easy. I can come over to you and tell you all about it. Alright, so GameDev Days, it's a business-to-business conference that happens in Tallinn every single April. This year it's going to be on the 11th and 12th of April. Also, this year I'm responsible for the Game Village. So Game Village operates on the principle of you submit your game. If you get into the Game Village, we provide you with 2 conference tickets, full access, also a table, and in the showcase area. So if you are thinking of, hey, I just want to submit my game, it doesn't have to be finished right now. That's okay. Just basically come over to me and say, hey, I want to participate in this. All right, future. So this is an interesting part, where we go into the interesting part. So, in terms of future, who has heard of the Baltic Game Development Federation? Raise your hands. Okay. All right, so it's basically the opposite. Yeah. Tell 2 people about GameDev Days and everyone else about the Baltic Federation. So here I can do my regular sales pitch that I usually do to business partners and investors and so on and so on. But I'd rather tell a story. And I'd rather tell my own story. So I was born in Estonia. I was born in a very bad part of the neighborhood. And my family didn't have much. And when I got to 18 years old, I tried to get a job. And Estonia at that point, it was like a very, very, very different country. And I tried to get a job, and nobody would employ me, and there was no opportunities for anything. So I got a plane ticket, and I went to London. And I've only recently returned back to Estonia. And when my colleague Mariana, she said, "Hey, do you want to take part in this IGDA project?" And she told me what it is about. I said, "Yeah, I do, because I think that organizing a new industry inside of Estonia, it's like a lot of young people will not have to get on that plane because of that, because they will have an actual place to work after they finish school, or they'll have employment, they'll have opportunities. Like if they don't want to work for the IT company, they can just go and work for a game studio, do what they always wanted to do." And so this is kind of what we're doing here right now. We want to merge Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania into a single federation. And the things that I've written here, it's just bullet points. Like, yes, we're going to have a federation. And the tools we're going to use, we're going to have Baltic GameDev magazine and Baltic GameDev database. But those are tools. Those are not concepts. Those are not the reasons why we're doing this. The reasons why we're doing this is, it's like, how many of you have actually pitched their game at the conference? Okay, one. How many of you actually know how to do that? Okay, one. How many of you feel comfortable talking to investors? Like, how many of you feel comfortable to people? How many of you feel comfortable talking to people that you don't know? All right, that's a fair amount, yeah. But eventually, if you are making games, you are going to be in that situation. What we're asking you is to have a little bit of faith in us. Let us do the groundwork. Let us go to the investors. Let us go to partners and say, and just basically just kick the door open and say, "Hey, those are the Baltic states. Those are the people in them. Please pay attention, because everyone needs to be seen and heard at some point." And just having that representation, trust me, it helps a lot, because I've kicked so many doors for the Estonian Association. It's unbelievable, yeah. And after after we have the meeting with all the people that we need to have meetings with, once our developers come in, they feel a lot more calm, they feel a lot more welcome, and they feel a lot more needed. So this is our future that I'm hoping to see. Oh, we'll see. All right, moving on. Oh, and obviously, no, don't thank me yet. And obviously, guys, if you want to learn a little bit more about this federation, you can always talk to me, you can always talk to Elvis, you can always talk to our partners in Lithuania. Just, if you want to be a part of it, let us know, okay? Okay, games. Now I need help. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a few trailers. So those are the games happening in Estonia right now. We're going to start with the Play Flame trailer. So this is the game that we always show to the government, because our government is also not that progressive.
Is that a thing?
Do you even want comfort leg?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have a mouse, so that's weird.
Okay, so this is a game that we always show to the government, because our government still has this idea that games are violent and awful.
This is so creepy.
Are you scared now?
Yes. You? I prefer violence.
So after our government sees this game, it's like, well, you don't give us a chance not to support you, because this is clearly not violence and gore and stuff. Okay, the next game is going to be from Creative Mobile. It's also a mobile game. If you can pause it for a second. No? Alright. Okay, so this is a game where the Creative Mobile team, they worked with original IP. Intellectual property of Fox. Guys, if you ever if you feel like your life is not exciting enough, go to some major studio and try to work with IP. Yeah? Do you love unexpected Skype calls on Mondays? IP. Like, do you love sleepless nights? IP. But nevertheless, the guys have actually made an amazing job, and it's actually a super hard game to play. Yeah, they got the license from X-Files. It only took them like a year of negotiations. And Skype calls on Mondays. Right, what do we have next in the list? Okay, so this is like the hottest game of 2019. And it's also based on my neighborhood.
You're a detective in the city of River.
It actually has a lot of really cool media coverage from all the big, like Rock, Paper, Shotgun.
Get lost exploring the city in this groundbreaking RPG.
He's trying to level up.
A truly unforgettable character. What kind of cop are you?
I've actually played 40 minutes of this, and it's really cool. Oh, also, this is one of the first, when Humble Bundle went into publishing, this actually was one of the first games that they signed up.
That's cool.
Yeah, I know. I told you, it's like, we are Estonians, we're very persistent. It's like, we will kick the doors down until somebody lets us in. Yeah. Okay, so this is another game that's coming out hopefully in 2019. It's like, imagine it's like every single one of your nerd fantasies when you were like 12 years old came to life. That's it. It's like every 12-year-old fantasy came to life.
That's only 12.
Our filming must be 12 because that was freaking awesome.
What else do we have? Okay, so this is a weird one. This is 1 in a million chance, and the guy actually got it. So the guy was making, in Tartu, he was making this game for 5 years in the hypothetical basement. And then this is the official one of the top 8 games in Gamescom this year. Yeah, I know. We're all surprised. Because he doesn't talk to anyone. Like that's the thing. He's just in his working space. He doesn't go out. He doesn't talk to anyone. And then it's like, it's basically like God of War and this game. Yeah. We don't know. We don't know. Yeah. Apparently, the inspiration behind it is from some really, really old game that was very complicated.
That was nice.
Okay, so the last game is gonna be a VR game. I've actually played it myself, even though I'm not like super fan of VR games. But it is so good! Basically, I was just trying to float away from people so they don't kill me so I can look at all the designs. And obviously I died a lot. Oh, and also they wrote like a whole article on how to tackle motion sickness in games like this. And it actually works. Yeah, I get motion sickness in VR games, that's why I don't like them, but I didn't in this one. Alright, that's pretty much it for the games. Alright, does anyone have any questions, concerns, anxieties?
This thing shut it down. The batteries. I could try to fix this fast, but first question should be right from where you sit. Anyone?
Yeah, about Baltic, how is the big name? Baltic Games Association? No, anyway, in what state is it right now? Just a dream?
No, it's not just a dream. It was a dream a year ago. Now it's actually, we're implementing a plan. So we now have a Facebook group that you can join. Anyone is free to join. Please ask Elvis for more details, or he can share it within the community. After we get something like 500 members in the Facebook group, we're going to launch a Discord chat. And the point of the Discord chat is that basically, imagine it's like if you're testing your game just within the community in Latvia, or just within the community in Estonia or Lithuania. And now, once that's launched, you kind of have that option of having testing games for free amount of more people, getting connections for 3 times more people. Yeah. So it's not just a pipe dream, it's actually it's a plan in action. So after the Discord, I'm gonna focus more on the database. I'm gonna try to like start to implement it, and I'm actually gonna look for companies to be the first ones to join. Go on.
Can I continue on that?
Yeah.
So you did that amazing scheme for Estonia about how everything is connected.
Yeah.
Is the plan of the Baltic Association to do the same for Baltics, so a bigger scheme?
Yes. Yeah, because it works. That's the thing. The reason why the scheme is such a big deal is because, do you remember financial crises? Do you remember crises of new technology coming in, disrupting the market, all that sort of stuff? If everyone's connected, that means the survival rate of the companies greatly increases. That means that it's almost like dropping like a drop in spider web. It absorbs the impact. That's what we're trying to achieve here. And obviously, this is kind of going into my more investor sales pitch. More and more countries, more and more studios are looking at the Baltic states as they're starting to recognize, oh, you are there. There's actually things happening, so you can be, you can do outsourced work. This is where we can find talents. This is where we can find partners. This is where we can market our products, that sort of thing. Oh.
I came here seeing the neural network of the Estonia. Probably I missed something. How do you communicate to each other in the studios?
Through Facebook group, also through the Discord. Yeah, and also during the gatherings. Yeah.
Anyone else?
More questions? No? Okay.
If you have any more questions, I'm gonna be here all night. And thank you so much, guys.
So thank you. And let's take a 10-minute break, because probably everyone's tired. Hello.
Okay. Hello everyone. I made this really simple presentation with a purpose. Basically, I came here to introduce myself, and my presentation will be a few empty slides, and I will not take much of your time. Basically, more or less 5 minutes, I hope. So the first question is here: what kind of thing we are lacking in Ventspils when you are looking on the slides? So we are lacking the creative industries and design things. So basically, my name is Gundars. I come from Ventspils. It's the west coast of Latvia, and I'm a lead researcher. Basically, I come from academic field, but I also work in Ventspils Digital Center as a project manager. And I wanted just to introduce ourselves. Basically, this is the slide we show to our local government why we need to pay attention to the gaming industry, but basically what we want to be on the map, on your gaming industry map. We want to tell that we want to participate in this kind of events. And why it is that? So basically we are participating in Baltic game industry project, and it's a huge project, basically a big deal. A lot of countries are participating, and we are one of them. And we see three big problems here we have to solve. The first one is related to education. The second one is related to business incubators, where the new game developers could start their own companies. And the third one is financial support mechanisms. And I will introduce with the things that we have currently right now. So basically, it's very almost random slide. So. 3 generations, X, Y, and Z. So I come from Y generation, so the millennial, and right now we will have to deal with the Z generation. We have two establishments: Ventspils Digital Center and Ventspils University of Applied Sciences in Ventspils. Yeah. And we are providing a continuous education. So basically, in Ventspils Digital Center, a lot of young children are learning and studying through the games. So basically, we are using the games in educational purpose, and they are really highly motivated to use games further and to work in the gaming industry field. And we will continue, and we are currently continuing with Ventspils University College. And you can see that different kind of technologies and things we can provide, and we are dealing now with the students. So basically, a lot of languages, popular languages, and we are dealing a lot with machine and deep learning, with artificial intelligence systems. And we have currently several offers from the gaming industry as well, where we can apply the machine and deep learning in this gaming industry as well. So this is our thing that we are doing, and the students are working as well with the Unity. Some students are starting to work with default. We are using Oculus and Leap Motion technologies and things like this. So basically, we are doing also what we want to say is that we are starting to deal with this gaming industry as well, and to involve it in more and more and more. So. Basically, the current status. So we have a business incubators, we have a business support center, and we have a financial support mechanisms as well. So what we need is students. We need creative students from creative industries, from the gaming industry, and we would like to collaborate with different gaming companies. We would like to. Not to compete with, for example, with Riga or for other region who are developing already games and are actively participating in this industry, but we would like to collaborate and be a partner in terms in providing knowledge in the things that we are working on, like this machine and deep learning. And we see a clear benefit from the gaming industry as well, as we need the gamers, because in different interesting projects we see a huge benefit from the gaming
game engines and, for example, generating synthetic data for various artificial intelligence systems and things like this. So we are open for collaboration, and nice to meet you all here, and I'm really glad to be here. So in any questions, do not hesitate to contact. So thank you.
Good. Any questions?
Any questions?
It works!
Yeah, it works now.
Anyone questions?
At least someone. Thank
Don't
you.
drop it.
Don't drop the mic.
Hey, dude.
Yeah.
Hi.
What kind of support can a potential game developer expect? Is the support purely technical, or can the support be more like marketing, like getting mentors?
So currently we are working on several big events that will happen next year, and what we want to do is to bring community closer to Ventspils and organize different boot camps and like educational things. This is the first support. The second support is infrastructure. So we have a in business support center. You can have a whole infrastructure you need to build a company. And the third one is this financial support system, where you can apply as a new company for to develop the first product. So we have currently 3 support mechanisms where you can apply this.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any more questions?
Do you have already any success stories or active project members or something that we could reference to?
You mean with the gaming industry, right?
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to face the reality and to say the figures no, because we start right now. Basically, the project started, the BGI project started in 2017, but we have had experience in gamification. We have had the gamification in sports analytics systems. We have developed amazing software in this one, in this field. More or less in gamification, but not in entertainment field. But this is the purpose I'm here. We want also to cover this field.
You mentioned that you teach students these complex topics like AI and stuff. How much gamification raises interest in students versus old school ways?
Well, basically, we see lack of gamification, lack of involvement of gaming industry in this field a lot in the reports of students. Especially the new generation, they are asking more and more and more, and this is the reason why we also decided to participate in this project, as the demand is increasing. So basically, yes, as more as we will provide, as better the community will be able to build. So yes, there is increase in demand. I cannot tell you the exact figures. I would say more or less third part of the students are interested in also gamification or building games.
So in your opinion, it actually increases the quality of learning, right?
Yes, it does. It does. This is a good thing, because what we see, we don't see gamers as somehow as a burden or some weird people. We see as a very creative people. If we attract the gamers, we attract creatively thinking people. We are attracting more coders. We are attracting more designers. So this is a really huge impact that this kind of industry can make to the local industry as well.
So thank you, Gundars.
Thank you.
That will be all. So the next up is Jakob called Hombsch.
Yes.
From Travian Games, GmbH, and he will talk about what? Of course. And he will talk about merging Baltic game domains.
He was showing you what's happening.
Domains. Oh, you have ThinkPad.
He's thinking.
Proper man. The ThinkPads are MacBooks.
ThinkPad. ThinkPad, bro.
Nobody watch.
So,
Turn around.
Dum dum dum.
Oh, yeah, that's nice picture.
Thank you much. So,
Applauses, please.
thank you very much for having me here. It's the first time I need to speak with a mic, so please show me if I'm doing it like too close or too not close. Thank you very much for having me. So I want to talk today about the Baltic game domains, which we merged together, and I need to click in here. So, first I want to talk about who am I, who is the company I work for, who's the game I'm working for. Thank you very much. And so at school I really wanted to rule these computers because they really looked like fun for me. And at some point I learned to program. Like, I went on to what was the internet back then, looked up for tutorials and learned PHP, so it's not really a programming thingy, but well, at some point I wrote my own game, and at some point I got an apprenticeship to become an actual developer, which didn't work out quite well, so I'm not a really good developer, but I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. I can speak their language. At 2006, I won the third place of the Super Browser Game Award in the smallest category, below 2,000 players. And keep that in mind for the next slide, because I will reference it. And in 2010, I started as a game designer for Travian Games. And since 2014, I'm responsible for the game design of Travian Legends. So, who's Travian Games? It was founded in 2005. After they released their first game in 2004. They also won a Super Browser Game Award in 2006 in the highest category, over 10,000 players, and they got the first place. So they were better than I am, and that's why I'm working for them and not they are working for me. And since 2008 we released a spin-off which is called Traviana, or Travians in English. And in 2011 we were named the best German publisher by the GameStar magazine. In 2012, Remanum won the MMO of the Year prize. That was the game I worked on, so pretty proud of that one as well. And in 2015 we needed to rename Travian to become Travian Legends, because the game we developed to replace Travian went to become Travian Kingdoms, and now we have two Travian games out there, like two games of Travian. And we have over 200 employees right now, and we have two subsidiaries. Also, on Gamescom released quite some new games, like trailers and announcements. We did not release the games yet, except Hyperdrome. Hyperdrome was released last week, so if you want to grab your favorite mobile phone and install the app and play some games, feel really appreciated for that, because we need every download and every opponent there. So, Travian Legends, the game I'm working for, is over 14 years old. It has an annual special since 2013 to increase the retention, to decrease the churn, to give players a reason to come back. And we have right now over 300,000 monthly active users, players. This is the how old are you question from the latest survey. So we have quite a lot of young people. Young, I mean 20 to 24, and we have quite a lot of old people, meaning over 60. So our community is super diverse, and if it would only be old, we would only have old players. But as we have young players as well, we replace old players as well. So we are not like a dying star, but we are actually like really a cash cow which tries to survive. So, how big is Travian? So I created this chart. This is public information. It's from Google Trends. I put Travian, Dota, World of Warcraft, and League of Legends next to each other. So in the very start, you see that World of Warcraft was quite a spike when it was released, and this is showing how much people searched for the term. And the blue spike in the middle around 2009, that's like our highest peak where we really did quite some revenue and quite some reach. And at some point we stopped doing marketing in the right way, and we stopped doing supporting the game in the right way, so we dropped quite heavily. And right now we are the smallest bar of all of them, but with this 300,000 monthly active users, we are still having this like 1% of attention we had like in 2009. So you can now imagine like what a spike that was for us. There's one slide which I couldn't find anymore, because in 2010 it was analyzed like which domains do what traffic, and the top 100 domains were shown, and Travian was one of them. So yeah, quite a big deal. And yes, we are super old as well. So what I want to talk about is the situation of Travian Legends in general, the merge of the domains of Estonia, Lithuania and Latvia, and how the revenue and player development was in especially these domains. I want to share transparently what we've done wrong, because we did quite a lot of things wrong there, and I want to show you what we tried to save. So first, we are a massive multiplayer real-time strategy game. This means players are our content. To demonstrate that, I play the game, of course I'm the game designer of the game, I play it. So that's me. These are all other players I can interact with. These are all other players who can, if they would know who I am, just attack me and plain out kill me. If only half of them would be there, the game would be half as interesting, because I can only play half as much. So players are really our content. And to go a little more deeper, this is the minimap. This is the detail I've shown you, and every red dot there is a player. So our game worlds are quite big, and if we lose them, we lose our players, the game will at some point cascade to death. So small domains are small, if content missing players quit the game, and this will cascade at some point. To counter that, we decided to, hey, let's do some small domains which we expect to collapse at some point and merge them together. So we still wanted to support, or we still want to support the game in the native languages, and this means we have 3 different support channels for 3 different languages. But still they are playing the same game on the same map. And we also surveyed our players and the community managers to ask them, do you actually want that? Because just because we think in our headquarters in Munich that this is a good idea, it doesn't mean that the players think it's a good idea. So we actually asked them, and they said like, yeah, let's give it a try. And I really, these are the German names, these are the English names, these are the domains. For me it was quite hard to keep in mind which one is which, because it's like freaking me out. So, what did it bring? This was the monthly revenue development after fees, which means there is all the money we pay to the payment transactions is already gone. I needed to remove the numbers, my boss asked me to do that. So, but you see the development. It is a trend line to go down, and we have the 3 domains in the very start, and at some point we merged them, so 2 domains didn't produce any revenue because it went through that one new channel, and it still went downish, so it didn't help. And the monthly avatar creations, there you see a super hateful effect of the whole thing. If we have 3 domains, we start more servers because it's 3 domains. If we only have like 1 domain, Baltics, then we only can start a server every 3 months, so we only can generate new accounts every 3 months, so we have always 2 months of zeros in between. So that didn't help as well. Usually when a player says like, oh, I lost the game, or I don't see a chance anymore, I just want to have a break, he can come back with the next server, but if the next server is in 2 months, he might already play in a different game, so that wasn't helpful as well. And we did quite a lot of things wrong. The first ones are funny. So when we have our domains travian.co.ee and travian.lv, they redirected to travian.lt in the correct language, but still because the domain was different, players were like, what is this shit? And they didn't like it. Okay, fair enough. When they registered, they get an activation mail. They need to click a link in that. That one was only in one language, because the game world was in that language. Not good. So info boxes is the way we inform our players about upcoming changes, downtimes and everything, and they support only one language. We did a quick fix, which was just write it 3 times. But one language needs to be first and 2 others need to be second and third, so people didn't like that as well. Completely understandable, we did it wrong. And every other half of a year we start a new server, we send out emails to players who want to play our game or played it in the past to like, hey, here's a new server, do you want to play it? In the wrong language. So, we are a free-to-play game. We survived 14 years because we are not a pay-to-win game, we are a free-to-play game. And players buy money, buy credits for money, and servers end eventually when a player wins, or our NPC tribe wins. Servers end at some point. But the currency stays on that server and would get deleted, so that's pretty unfriendly to our players. So we created something which is called Gold Transfer Link, where we send an email out, like, hey, with this link you can transfer your gold to a new account, hey, play us again. Exactly, that's what I just said. And that one we send in the wrong language again. So, our help database is Travian Answers. It's an out-of-game tool from our customer service representatives to answer questions in a pretty easy way. And it was only provided in one language, because we removed the other 2 domains. Technically, we still had the ones of the other languages, but they were just not reachable anymore because the domain didn't work anymore. So, yeah, the payment shop, it worked in 3 languages, but it was only Lithuanian pre-selected, so all the other players needed to change it, even though they were in the correct language in the first place. That was stupid as well. When you register and the username is taken, the main page asks the game, hey, can I register with this account? And the main page, the game says, no, you can't, this is the error message you should show. The game always was in this one language. So you have a perfectly Latvian language and you register and suddenly error messages appear in a language which you might not recognize. Awesome. And we have game stage events, so at some point artifacts appear, so you log in and there's a message, a huge text, it's a story about what happens in the wrong language. So I was getting angry when I realized all that stuff. So there's another issue which is language related but also player related. That's something we never could change. We are a strategy game. Like when I get attacked, I go to my neighbors and say like, hey, can you send me some help? I do that in my language. If the other guy speaks my language, he might help me. If the other guy has no idea what I'm talking about, he will not help me. So basically, the plenty players of Lithuania kicked out the other players because like, hey, let's make a Lithuanian awesome alliance which only speaks that language. Well, we could include some translation tools, but we are a game, we are not Google Translate, so that's something we really couldn't do. But that made us really unhappy, because like basically the Baltics domain now is Lithuanian domain again. So when we try to save all that stuff, first we saved all these emails, which was quite funny because we as a game send emails out, but marketing, like a different department which is not related to our game, also sends out emails, so we need to explain them why they should do that in a different way. And if you have 200 people working in one company, communicating between departments is fun. Enjoy those indie times, really. We fixed those links. We changed the info box tool to support multiple languages so that it's only shown in the language of the player, and if we don't translate to that language for whatever reason, we show English. So better than it was before. And a small expansion for the next slide, we use something which is similar to Scrum. Scrum uses complexity points for estimations, and usually it goes with the Fibonacci numbers, and our team decided that everything which is above a 13 is too big to be feasible. If it's from estimation point of view a 21, it goes back to design or to whoever requested that user story to be split into multiple parts, because a 21 cannot be developed within a reasonable time and so on. So with that in mind, yeah, I just told that. With that in mind, I wrote all the user stories to fix the whole stuff, and we ended up with a total of 98 complexity points. So we spent actually quite some development time into fixing all these, let's say, simple things, because it's just the wrong language, but it was quite an investment. And the time which is not included there is the time I've spent in identifying these issues. Because if I usually play on an English or a German domain, so it's one language domain, so everything is fine. But going to another domain and registering and having 3 languages which I didn't understand, and then identifying which texts are in the wrong language is quite tough. So it was spent even more time on that one. So what was the result of these fixes? It helped a bit. At least it's somehow stable now in terms of revenue and monthly avatar creations. So it was worth in the end, but we did not react fast enough, because in 2014 we merged the domains. In 2015 we put out the fixes, and the development time is not a year. It was more like until we realize that this is an issue, until we identify that what are actually the issues, and then until we developed it, it just took time. But right now we are merging some other domains, and we merge these in a different way. We merge these by language. So for example, we have now a new Hispano language server. For Spanish-speaking domains, we have some Portuguese domains merged, and we have an Anglosphere English-speaking domain, which is secondary to our English-speaking.com domain, because that is where every language is invited to play. So these shouldn't have these issues, but still all of this is already done, so we can redo it, and then we can reuse it, and then it should be fine. So with that quick presentation, are there any questions about how we screwed up and how it helped? This one was first, I guess?
South Park had a character called Captain Hindsight, and his superpowers were really powerful. And watching your story, it seems so obvious, but I know that it's not so obvious when you're in the process. So you said it was about a year until you actually delivered the fixes. But there was a time where you didn't know you needed them. Could you explain about the process, where from the ideas came? From the top or from the developers? Like from the management or the developers? Who noticed it first? Was it market analysts? Was it support team? Who was it? Thank you.
That's a really good question. So again, we are a big company. So we have, for example, community management as a department, which should manage the communities. They could have noticed. We have customer service representatives, which do the actual support. They should have get the tickets about, hey, there's something not working. Both of these parts report to a different department within our company, and that department just analyzes it and adds it up, and all language-related issues were rated pretty low, because it was only 3 domains, and afterwards only 1 domain complaining about it. So they one way to see it, they didn't complain loud enough, they didn't write enough tickets, The other side is like the guy who analyzed that was not paying attention to the important details. So it took some time until we noticed that. And so because you asked from top or from bottom, because we are a big company, we have a quite high top. And we are structured in game centers. So our CEO doesn't tell us what we need to do next on a strategy level, because we decide that on our own and then go to our CEO and say like, hey, this is what we want to do, are you fine with that? So it was a middle management approach to say like, hey, there are these issues, the revenue doesn't work, the expected stuff doesn't work. If I go into the tickets, I see what is the obvious problem, and the middle management then said like, let's change that and let's fix that, because we will need that for the future. I mean, we could also went the way like, okay, it didn't work out, let's forget about it, let's bury those domains. But we are so old, we will die eventually, so we will need to have these solutions. So it was then presented as like, hey, we could fix these domains, it could save them, and also we need them for future domains. So it was such a middle management approach. Then there's another question?
Just for figures, what was in percent, for example, the part of the whole player base only Baltics? Like, what is the amount of players if we take the Travian world?
Actually, I can't answer you that by heart.
Approximately 1%.
Let's do a rough sketch. So we have 40 domains. We have some of them are bigger, like Germany, France, and .com. We are pretty strong in Saudi Arabia, so I would say like most of our players are from these like top 10 domains. And with that, I would say roughly 2, 3, 4%, something around that would be from the Baltics.
So about 1% of the population was offended.
Yeah.
Okay.
And realizing that right now is that 1% offended didn't write enough tickets to make enough noise, tells me that we had quite a lot of other issues as well at that time, so that like 5% are offended as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any more questions? Yep.
That'll be the last.
Okay. So how currently like Baltic states operating in the Travian?
So we have domains which are weaker than the Baltics in terms of players and in terms of revenue. For example, Japan. But as I said in the one slide, it's stabilized on a very, very low level. We did an analysis or like a prediction a few years ago where we said like, what do we think is the amount of players before this cascading effect comes into play? And the result of that one was, right now quite a lot of domains should have been collapsing, so but they don't. So it's pretty stable. It would be awesome to see growth there, but there is none yet. Thank you very much for the questions.
Louder! So, this is it for presentations. And now, Elvis with the news and announcements, and of course, the game. Wait. There's quite few games actually. Right. Come here, Elvis, come here.
No Google. No Google, please. No Google.
There's something. Some.
Hello? Whoa, wire. Okay.
So, I'm Elvis. Happy to see you in the GameDev Meetup 66. Let's start. So, I have some interesting stuff to tell you about. The stats of 2017. So, these were the stats of 2015 and 2016. So, this was a prediction, like a logical prediction. And this was my prediction. So let's see the reality. So the reality is yeah. But so as you know, there was a company named Suricat Games that had 2 million turnover. So these are actually turnover stats, and they kind of disappeared. So yeah, these 11 million are with their 2 million turnover. So basically, real companies earned more this year, because I don't want to comment this, but I can guess that they actually didn't make games, but I'm not sure about that. So let's be optimistic. This year we had 2.6 million profit from games, and that's compared to 1.8 last year. So the profit is bigger, and that shows that actually there is growth, and some companies just are messing with our stats. So there are 30 companies now in Latvia that actually have a turnover with a few thousand turnover or more. So yeah, these are out of 60 countries that are included in the stats. That's actually not the whole number. These are official numbers. The real number is bigger, because we have individuals that make games. We have companies that maybe we are not aware of. So this is a pessimistic number. I would think that it could be maybe, I don't know, like 10% more, maybe a bit less. So three biggest companies are board game company, Brain Games Publishing, and yeah. So also they closed the Brain Games company and went merged it into a single company, Brain Games Publishing. Another company, one of the big companies that was closed this year, was Ascetic Labs. They had like 24,000 turnover, not big, but still one of our game developers is dead. So the second place is as usual the Guns of Boom Maker Game Insight, and the first place is our Estonia. So yeah, these are the three biggest companies, and actually that's their latest game. So yeah, I will stop boring you with the facts, and now let me tell you what happened in the last month. So we had a booth in Poznan Game Arena, as you can see on my t-shirt. So we had 3 games. That was actually the biggest exhibition we had a booth in, counting in even Casual Connect. Casual Connect was even not half as big as this one. This was really huge. They had a huge conference, and we had a lot to learn from them. So yeah, that was awesome event. And the next one, it's really hot here. Yeah, so we had a booth at the Game On. We had 5 games there, and yeah, Game On was good as usual. I think you can ask guys who were there, maybe after the meetup, but yeah, it was cool. I don't know what to tell you. We had booth there like for the 4th year, so I will just repeat myself how awesome it was. I will not do that. So let's move on. So for the members of the association, on the 11th of December we have the big meeting where we will vote for the new board. So in the next meetup we will announce the new board. So please be there. And yeah, on the 12th of December we are having a meetup. And on the 25th of January we will have a global game jam. Yep. So, or maybe is it January 25th? Okay. Okay, maybe 25th to 27th. Yeah. Okay, enough with the boring stuff. Let's move on. So what is it? You are wrong. The torch. Yeah, so the torch. We have an old tradition that we will start today. The tradition actually started in Montreal in Canada, and it was started by their GameDev community leader, Guillaume Boucher Vidal, and the tradition is called flambeau. It's French for the torch. So the tradition is as follows. Can you light it up? So we'll have a torch, and the idea of the tradition is to have the torch and pass it around, and the one who has the torch has 2 months. So the one who has the torch has 2 months to make a GameDev event, any event, like a beer drink or maybe some I don't know, party or something. You don't have to pay for it. Like you can invite people and they can buy your own beer or something. But
others are obliged to come.
Well, not obliged. Like if you want, you can come. If not, then you can skip it. But yeah, so we will and take photos how you pass the torch to the next one, and yeah, and tell about it in the meetup if you want. If it's really intimate event, then you are allowed to not tell us about it, but hopefully you will. So the first one I will give the torch is Laura, and it should not be your workshop stuff. It should be something. It should be something new. Like you have 2 months.
2 months.
So can somebody take a picture how I pass the torch to her? So you will be the first one. Okay, so wish you luck. Just come up with some random idea. If you want ideas, I can give you the contacts of the guy who started this. If you have ideas already, then you are free to do whatever you want.
Okay, one question.
Yeah.
Do I keep this look like all day?
No, you can, no.
So,
Yeah.
can I, like,
Yeah, of course.
out?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So now the game. Finally. So the previous, I don't know, maybe 20 or something games were pretty easy. So I decided to spice it up a little bit. So these will be really hard ones. I hope there will be 3 questions. 1 beer for the first one who will like give the correct answer the first, and the last one will get the loot box from the game on. The last question. Yeah. It has some cool stuff there. So the rules are simple. There are some pictures. You just combine them, get the name of the game, and shout it out. The first one who gives the correct answer wins. So 3, 2, 1. Yes, Red Dead Redemption. It's Red, or Red in the past tense. Dinosaurs are dead, and Redemption of the Jesus. So yes, Red Dead Redemption. One beer. Yeah, it's still so easy. How did you do it? I hope this one will be harder. So so 3, 2, 1. Nope.
Civilization. Warframe. Assassin's Creed.
Finally. No, finally something a bit harder. No, so what is the structure? What does it do? Yeah, close. So it's a system, some kind of system. No, just the beer. This one is the beer question. Nope. So it's some kind of system. Okay, finally a hard one. Yes, finally. So what kind of Egypt this is? Yes, defense of the ancients. Yes. So defense system, ancient Egypt. Yes. So this one, the last one, and game on loot box. So this, I hope this will be really hard, but I'm not sure. So let's do it. 3, 2, 1. No. So there are 6 pictures. No. Try to name all the things there in your mind. So this is for the game on loot box. This is not a really popular game, but you should know it. It's pretty popular. Nope. No. Be more, I don't know. I don't even know the word, what I'm looking for. Nope. Nope. So.
Give us something.
No. So there is something common for all these pictures. Try to read them in your mind. So what is this? Yes. So continue with other words. Nope. So the first two, next one. Yes, and so the full name is. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you didn't. So yeah, that's Volv, Vikings, Vinyl, Vaccine, Vampire, and Volcano. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for being here, and hope you enjoy the meetup and you will enjoy the evening. Okay, see you in the next meetup.